Hey, we're live on the air. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. How are ya? Welcome to Monday, January the 15th, 2018. Oh my gosh, time is flying when we're having fun. This is my channel called Traveling with Bruce. And if you've never been here before, I'm Bruce, and I'm from Creston, British Columbia in Canada. And I love talking about cruise ships and traveling and you name it. We talk about taking airplane rides and well, all kinds of vacation ideas. I've got a bunch of playlists on my channel where I talk about going on cruise ship vacations, a lot of how-to videos on how to get a good deal on a cruise, how to pack for a cruise, how to find a good cruise deal, what the different kind of cruises there are, what do you do when you get on a ship, the various options and packages available when you're on a ship, ways to spend money on a cruise ship. There's a few. And I'll be talking about that any old time. I always open my floor up for questions anytime. I also say out there, if you're watching me right now live, please let me know you're seeing me here and tell me where are you located, what's your high temperature today. Here in Creston today, it's a gorgeous sunny day. One way you can tell is how the sun shines on this side of my face and how dark I am over here because the sun is coming in my window. I got a curtain up because it's too bright. If I had it open, I'd just be blinded. But even with the sun shining as it is, I think we're 40 degrees today in Creston, so our snow is melting a bit. Let me know how you're doing today. I've got playlists on travels I've had to Europe and in the States. I have another series of playlists. There's a playlist that I have. It's called So I Know You Like a Good Story. That playlist, I've got all kinds of videos on there of things that have happened to me, people I've met. And some of them are well, frankly, people have told me they just don't believe them. They just think this is too good to be true. There's no way. I got a story in there about the Beatles. I keep talking about this video. I just love, personally, this is one of my favorite videos that I've done. I'm so self-centered. Anyway, I love this video. It's a video about the Beatles and my dad, how they helped make him $1 million in 1964. You got to check it out. I mean, it's a great video. Anyway, what else have I got to tell you? Oh, well, I have to say to my regular viewers, man, thank you for watching me and coming back all the time. I think I'm doing something right. I'll tell you, since I last saw you guys, the last video I did was on Saturday afternoon. It was a live video, then a live stream. I had at that time 253 subscribers, not 253,000 subscribers, 253 subscribers. I'm up now to 270, 17 in 2 days. Unbelievable. Beginning of December, I had 75 subscribers. So, I mean, the growth rate since December has just been unbelievable. It's fantastic. I'm really grateful, of course. What else am I going to say to you? Views. Oh my gosh, my views. I'm over 42,000 views. I was just barely getting to 40,000 like 2.5 days ago. I got 42,000 views. It's fantastic. So the channel is growing out. The views are coming in. The subscribers are coming in. Couldn't be happier. If this is your first time watching this video, and I'm really now talking to people who aren't watching live. I'm talking to people out there who are going to watch this video tonight, tomorrow, next week. If you're just joining this channel and you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up on any of the videos you watch. I would really appreciate that. If you really like what I'm doing, subscribe to my channel. There's a little bell icon beside my subscriber button. I think that's maybe over here. I'm not sure. There's one red subscribe button that's always on one side, and then there's the other subscribe button with my name where it says Traveling with Bruce. Right beside where it says Traveling with Bruce, subscribe, there's a little bell icon. That's a bell notification icon. If you hit that, you'll get an email every time I'm going to post a new video. So if you want to watch my live streams and not miss them, you'll get notification of when it's coming on. So think about that and join the channel. It would be great to have you. Now, today, I've got a couple of topics I want to cover today. I want to talk about some cruise industry news, and I also want to go over one little storyline, and that is having a wedding on a cruise ship, because that is a whole industry unto itself. And using a cruise ship for a wedding is a heck of a good idea. It can be incredibly economic. but also spectacular all at the same time. I'll get into that in just a little bit. Again, anyone who's just joining me on as a viewer, let me know where you're at and how you're doing. What's your temperature where you're staying? Gailey is telling me it's 7 degrees Celsius and raining. Sorry. Well, at least it's +7. You know, it's better than negative. +7, I guess, would put us at about, I'm going to say about 42, 43 degrees Fahrenheit would be my guess, something like that. I'm around 40 degrees Fahrenheit today. And it's a glorious sunny day here in Creston today. It's just nice to see. Cruise news, some of the latest news that I heard this morning that's coming out right now. The Norwegian Bliss is a new ship that is just being completed, being constructed. It's almost ready. It should be ready, I think, in April of this year. So we're talking 3 months from now, it'll be launched. The Bliss will hold about 4,000 passengers and about 1,600 crew, maybe. It'll be 5,600 passengers total. It's a biggie. And this is the cruise ship that Norwegian is launching that will have the first ever go-kart racing track at sea. The story goes that it's a 1,000-foot long racing track. It's a 2-story affair. You get in the vehicle on the bottom level, and then you drive up a ramp, and you're on the top level. You're driving all around the top, and then you come down the ramp, and you drive around the bottom a ways, and then you come back into pit row. And I don't know how many laps you get, but I'm sure you pay so much a lap or whatever the deal is. These are electric carts, so they're go-karts that are electric, so they won't spew any smoke in the air, and they won't sound like lawnmowers on steroids. But apparently there are speakers located right by your ears, where your headrest is back here. I think you have to wear a helmet, but right back here are 2 pair of speakers that will, as you put the gas pedal down, it'll sound like an engine revving up. So it'll sound like a golf cart or a racing car, but it's just an electric car. So for the rest of the passengers, they won't be disturbed by the noise. They won't be disturbed by the smelly, smoky smell of a 2-stroke engine that uses oil and gas. That's going to be wonderful, wonderful relief. It should be pretty cool. And apparently these go-karts will have quite a bit of pickup, so it'll be quite neat to see them. I have seen some promotional photos from Norwegian where some of the go-karts are just single-seaters, and others are double-seaters. So you can have like dad drive the 4-year-old around, mom can drive the child with them. So if they're too young to drive, mom and dad can drive for them, and the kids will get to sit in the front with them. That should be a lot of fun. So that's a pretty neat feature. Now the Bliss, the news out of the Bliss is that when it launches in April, it's going to make a transatlantic trip to North America, and it will find its way to Seattle. And once it's in Seattle, it will be used from April, May through the summer months to do Alaskan cruises. And after the Alaskan cruise season sort of ends, which will be kind of September-ish, it'll work its way back through the Panama Canal and come all the way back up to New York City. And apparently the news today is that it's going to be based out of New York City for at least November and December and maybe part of January. And the word after that is its permanent home will be, for the winters anyway, will be Miami. And it'll be heading to the Caribbean. And, those of you out there who've been watching the videos and heard all these news stories about the storm, that so-called bomb cyclone that we heard about, well, unfortunately, the Bliss is going to get caught in those if any of them happen to occur next year in November, December. So it'll be interesting to see how the media picks up on it and how the cruise line handles it. But I'm told that they're talking about 7 to 9 to 10-day cruises from New York down to Bermuda, down to the Bahamas, and through the Caribbean and back. So it'll be a nice itinerary. Brand new ship with all kinds of features. It's going to make it'll be on every television show in New York. I mean, every morning show based out of New York City is going to have a camera crew down there when that ship arrives in New York for the New York sailings, as it were. So I can see, Kelly Lee. Was it Kelly? I forget the name of all the morning shows. Good Morning America, and you know them. All the major networks will be there. All the local TV shows will be there. All the New Jersey television stations will come up there. There will be a lot of press coverage given to the Bliss. And that's why Norwegian is doing it. It's great PR. Just invite the camera crew on board with the reporter and the microphone, and you're on live television, on location, right on a cruise ship in New York, and that'll make for great television. And of course, you know that every one of these TV show hosts are going to get in one of those electric go-karts. They're going to whiz around in it, so we'll all see it. It should be kind of fun, actually. So that's the news on the Bliss, big ship coming, and like I said, it will be most interesting to see that land in New York. Now, news out of Bermuda today. Bermuda made an announcement through its travel ministry office that their predictions for 2018 are that 180 cruise ships are going to land in Bermuda this year, bringing a total of 470,000 passengers. Now, this is big stuff for any island in the Caribbean, or in Bermuda, in this case, a little north of the Caribbean area. Because these countries, they charge a fee for every passenger that comes ashore. And they'll charge a fee for every ship that pulls into port. So it's an income generator for the country. And of course, whatever the passengers spend when they're on shore is anybody's guess. I mean, there are all kinds of tours. There could be fishing charters being done, or rent a bike or rent a moped and go for a ride around the island. It's cash, cash, cash. I've heard anywhere from $40 to $100 a person gets spent on shore. It varies a lot. Depending on the islands and what destination we're talking about. There's obviously, a T-shirt sales, hats, and a couple of drinks, going into a bar, whatever the reason is to whatever you're going to do on shore. So 470,000 passengers this year. Last year they had 415,000. So 19 more ships. So they went from 161 last year to 180 this year, and about 10% more passengers. So Bermuda is upping their game and upping their welcome mat for more passengers to come visit there. Now, I heard last week that 2 ships were supposed to come in on the same day. The QE2, no, what was that? The Queen Elizabeth II and the Queen Mary II. I think the 2 Cunard ships, both of which I believe are on round the world cruises. They had coordinated for the 2 of them to show up at the same time in the harbor in the Bahamas. But unfortunately, the weather was so bad that the 2 ships totally avoided the Bermuda entirely and just worked their way elsewhere, and it never happened. So that's kind of sometimes the chances you take when you're an island nation in the middle of the ocean, that sometimes ships just, like tourist ships, just can't come to visit you. As far as cargo ships go, they'll dock the cargo ship offshore on the side of the island where the wind is the less of a problem, where the waves are the lowest, and then they'll just wait out the storm. And if it takes a couple of days, then they'll bring the cargo ship in and unload the containers. And the island has got toilet paper, bread, butter, eggs, meat, you name it, whatever's coming in these refrigerated cars or containers, and the island's back in business. That's the story on the Bahamas today, or Bermuda, I should say. Now, MSC Cruise Lines, they made an announcement. They just launched last month their 14th cruise ship, called the MSC Seaside. They launched it in Miami to great fanfare, fireworks, and all kinds of celebrities, and you name it. And that ship is now working from Miami through the Caribbean on a weekly basis. By the way, you can get some really good deals on the MSC Seaside. You can get a balcony for under $700 for a week on this brand new, never sailed on before ship in the Caribbean. This is where you as a consumer can take advantage of the fact that MSC just isn't as known as Carnival is known, or Royal Caribbean, or Norwegian, and all the other lines that these big lines own. I mean, they dominate the business. MSC is the new up-and-comer. And the MSC Seaside, a beautiful ship by all accounts. And like I said, for under $700 a week base fare for a balcony suite, man, that would be a heck of a cruise. The company, MSC, has committed $14 billion to ship construction for new ships. And the next ship coming out is called the MSC Seaview, which will come out in June of this year. So barely 6 months after the Seaside, here comes the Seaview, which will be a virtual twin to the first one. But it will also have a bowling alley, which the MSC Seaside has, and it's going to operate the longest zip line at sea. So Now there's a competition between cruise ships as to who's got the longest zip line. So there you go. Crash X is here. Hi, Crash X. How's it going? Beautiful sunshine today. Then I checked, minus 18 degrees Celsius. Oh no, that's got to be about 0 Fahrenheit. That can't be good. Oh man, that's bad. We're +4, +5 here. I think we're gonna hit over 40 for the high. We're glorious sunshine here in Creston, BC. Welcome back. I know you're in Ottawa, Ontario, and Canada. MSC will match your point level from another cruise line once. So if you are a diamond on the Captain's Club, they'll match it. Now that's a deal. I mean, that's a heck of an offer. This just goes to show you how aggressive MSC is to get a piece of this cruise ship action. They're the new kids in town. 3-4 years ago, they only had 8 or 10 ships. Now they're at 14. Number 15 is coming out in June. These are holding close to 4,000 passengers each. They're top of the line, state-of-the-art, beautiful pieces of work. And with a budget of $14 billion, to give you an idea of how much money this is, you can build in most cities in North America, depending on the land that you're buying, but generally speaking, in almost all cities, let's say New York might be a bit more, you can build a 55 to 60-story skyscraper for $1 billion, okay? What's $1 billion among friends? So these guys are going to be building ships equal to 14 skyscrapers, 60 stories tall each, just to give you a handle on how massive amount of money, the massive amount of money that MSC is putting in. This is a private company. It's not a public company. It's privately held. These folks have got deep, deep pockets. They're headquartered in Switzerland, tax-free country, by the way, and they are investing big time. So I can see where they're doing 2 ships a year for the next 4 or 5, 6 years at $1 billion a boat. 800 million to $1 billion a ship is what it's costing them to build these kinds of vessels. And each one just outdoes the next one, outdoes the next one. So the Carnival people, Holland America, Princess, Norwegian, all of them, they're under the gun here. There's a new kid in town, and he's not dominated by one of these 3 existing cruise lines. They have limitless money, it would appear. And now they're going after passengers. And here we go. This is a great comment regarding the Ships Club. So if you're a member of another cruise line's frequent passenger deal, and you've been getting perks every time you book a cabin, after 5 sailings or 10 sailings, 20 sailings, you get these offers. Now they're offering you that as on a one-time deal to come on over to MSC. They're saying, give us a try. We dare you to give us a try. We're ready. We're just as luxurious, if not better, than anyone else. Now that's something to think about. Pretty cool offer, I have to say. Other news, Carnival, speaking of a new cruise ship, April the 2nd, Carnival announced that the 26th ship in their fleet is coming out. 4,000 passengers in size, called the Carnival Horizon. And it's going to have the Sky Ride, which is a bike track where the bike is suspended from a track, 12 floors or about 125 feet off the water surface, along the one side of the ship, and you pedal inside this bicycle unit that's connected to the track above you. And as you pedal, it moves along this track, and you'll go all around the back of the ship and over the water's edge on both sides. Apparently, it's a spectacular view, a neat little contraption. What was I going to say about those guys? Oh, they have on board as well an IMAX theater, by the way, and they have a Dr. Seuss themed water park on the Carnival Horizon. So this ship has a number of new features to it. 4,000 passengers, will be one of the largest, probably the largest Carnival ship out there. It might match one of them that's already as big as this one. So they're obviously moving into that direction. Dylan, you're here. Dylan, you made it from Henderson, Nevada. Another subscriber of mine. Welcome, Dylan. Tell me, what's your temperature today? Everywhere else, it's cold. You got to be better than 40 degrees in Henderson, I'm sure. 75 sky here is clear sky here in Laughlin. Way to go, Dylan. Fantastic. You're the winner. You got the hot spot so far. It's fantastic. Welcome aboard. We're just going over some news on the cruise line business. And then I've got a couple of points to talk about regarding weddings at sea, which is a whole other world in which to get familiar with. Unbelievable. Another bit of news coming out of the cruise business these days. Royal Caribbean. They're announcing the launch of the Symphony of the Seas in April. So that's 3 months from now. It'll be the world's largest cruise ship at that moment in time, holding 6,870 people, I believe it is. That'll be passengers and crew. 15 stories high with wave running machines on the top, zip lines, rock climbing walls, water, all kinds of water slides, a massive slide where you just kind of get on sort of a blanket kind of thing, and you go down this tube slide, and it goes from the top of the ship all the way to the main deck. Fantastic features. Massively large, all kinds of neighborhoods on board. There'll be probably 20 restaurants, you name it. That is going to be a big one. So that is the Symphony of the Seas, Royal Caribbean, launching April of this year. So that's another new ship coming. There's just a ton. One other ship that caught my eye that's just being built now, and this sounds pretty cool. For those of you out there like me, if you're planning on winning the lottery, I've been planning on winning the lottery myself since about 1976. Still working on the plan. You buy a ticket, cross your fingers, wait. If your ship comes in, I mean, if your numbers come in, I got a ship for you that you may want to talk about looking into here. This thing is basically what it is. Hasn't been named yet, but it's going to be operated by a ship company, a cruise line called Ponant, P-O-N-A-N-T, Ponant Cruises. They operate what we would call yacht cruise ships or cruise ship yachts. They look like giant, billionaire yachts, but they're converted into, or they're built from scratch to be housing passengers on balcony suites only. And they're now building a 135 suite polar luxury icebreaker. So if you've ever wanted to go to the North Pole on a cruise ship or down to the Antarctic, we got the ship for you, baby. It's coming. 135 suites. That's, going to hold 270 people, ballpark. Luxury cruise liner. It's going to have on board 16 Zodiacs. So we can take passengers off the ship onto the Zodiac and head to Antarctica on the shore, check out the penguins. But they're also going to have 2 onboard helicopters. Not one helicopter, 2 onboard helicopters. So for those of you who want to kind of get an overview shot, you don't want to just send a drone up there. You can go up there yourself. We got 2 onboard helicopters on this cruise ship. I took a look at their website today, Ponant. I'll do some more research on them, and I just took a quick peek at some of the cruises that they offer. They do offer cruises in the Caribbean, Alaska, the Mediterranean, throughout Europe. I saw a cruise just around Cuba, 7 nights. They had a deal where, to give you an idea of the caliber of clientele we're talking about here, the cruise included a round-trip air ticket to France from Paris. So you start your holiday in Paris, France, actually. So you can see it's aimed at mainly European clients. And then they'll fly into Havana, Cuba, where you'll meet the ship. You'll be on the ship for, it's either 6 or 9 days. And then you'll be flown out of Cuba back to Paris. But you don't have to go back to Havana. No. There's another airport on the south part of the island where the plane there'll be a plane brought to you there. You'll get disembarked from the ship, be taken by cab to the plane, and you fly back to Paris. And the deal worked out to about, I'm going to guess about $1,000 US a day per person. So if it's husband and wife, $2,000 a night on the ship for the 9 or 10 nights. So 18, 20 grand, you got yourself a nice little cruise around Cuba. They do the same kind of thing like with an Alaskan cruise, where you can take a 6, 7, 10-day cruise around Alaska, where they include a ticket to Seattle. Now, they were offering on this one cruise a domestic ticket, which meant that anywhere in the United States, wherever you are, you can fly to Alaska and back, and you'll start your cruise from Alaska and head up to from Seattle, I should say, and head up to Alaska. I thought that was pretty cool. Again, about $2,000 a day US as a couple. Give me kind of a rough idea before the other charges. Now, there are no specialty restaurants. There's no like drink package. It's all inclusive. Also, you get your own butler as well. So, when those lottery numbers kind of line up for you, like I'm waiting for mine, well, then that's something to consider to get away from the riffraff, like guys like me. So keep that one in mind, folks. Your ship comes in, this ship could be for you. So luxury icebreaker. Wow, that should be something. Okay, so now, anyone has any questions about cruising, specialty cruisers or drink packages or specialty dining or how to get to a cruise ship or what's the best way to take a cruise, find a cruise, you let me know anytime. I can see the comments here. I'll read them aloud so the folks who watch later tonight can see the questions being asked, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got. In the meantime, I wanted to bring up a topic today that is this is a biggie. This is one of these things that is a specialty item for cruising. It's a very important event for many people in their lives. It's called the wedding, and it's all about getting married. And in this case today, I'm going to talk a little bit about getting married at sea or getting married on a cruise ship. And I took a quick peek at a number of the different sites, and I recommend to anyone out there, if you want information on getting married on a cruise ship, all you got to do is go on to the web and check out each cruise line and their own websites. Cruise websites have the wedding area, usually a header, and you can get info there. But as a general rule and as a quick review, I got good news for anybody who wants to consider getting married on a cruise ship. The great news is it doesn't matter if your budget is small, medium, or limitless. You can hold a wedding on a cruise ship that'll work for you. And you have to consider this if you're talking about a wedding, on a smaller scale or on more of a budget kind of a scenario. You can get married in your hometown, anywhere you live, of course. You get married in a church, you can just get married, get a marriage certificate from City Hall, and you can conduct a reception and you're on your way. And of course, there are weddings out there where the couple get married at City Hall, they have a reception at the local steakhouse or the pizza joint, and for a couple of $1,000, not even $1,000, you got a wedding. Everybody pay their own way and it works. So, I mean, weddings can be done anywhere at any budget. We all know that. But when you see photos of elaborate ceremonies and beautiful wedding dresses and what have you, now we're talking a situation where it could get kind of crazy on the dollar front. And having a wedding on a cruise ship can be very advantageous for a bride and groom because you're talking about conducting a wedding on a vessel that can run upwards of $1 billion to build. And when they build vessels that cost $800 million, $900 million, $1 billion, they're beautiful. And they have on board the ship's photographers who know what they're doing, who have camera equipment, lighting equipment, video equipment, and experienced staff that know how to take photos inside that ship. They know that ship inside and out. They know the lighting on that ship. They know the kind of lighting they need to enhance a photo. And it's all they do. 7 days a week, they take pictures of people wearing suits and ties and evening gowns, coming and going from the restaurant every night, coming onto the ship and getting off the ship, or being in Jamaica and taking photos. They're experts at taking photos on the ship. And the ship itself is a gorgeous backdrop for wedding photos. You can imagine some of these atriums that are 5, 6, 7, 8 stories high, with the glass elevators, the marble staircases, the flowers, the grand pianos over here, people playing the violins. Fantastic. The wow factor on a cruise ship is always spectacular. But with a bride in a beautiful wedding dress, groom dressed to the nines in his tux. You can pull off some wedding photos like you can't believe. And here's the good news. It's part of the package. If you're thinking of taking a cruise for a taking a honeymoon cruise as a getaway, you can have the marriage on the ship too. But here's the neat part about this. You can have, of course, a wedding at sea where whoever comes on the ship as a passenger in your party can join you. But you can pull off another little ditty, and that little ditty is you live in the New York area within a few hours by car from New York. Well, why don't you have the wedding ceremony on the cruise ship when it's in port between cruises? So if it comes in at 7 a.m. in the morning from the Caribbean cruise it just had, passengers are coming off that ship. The bridal party is coming onto the ship at, say, 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning, and you're having the wedding ceremony on board the cruise ship, docked in New York. All of your friends from around the area can come in and get to the ship. They get priority boarding onto the ship. You can have the ceremony in the chapel if you want, right in the ship, or in any one of the venues on the ship. It'll all be coordinated by the wedding coordinator on board. And you'll have, of course, set this all up with your pre-wedding coordinator through the cruise line. And after the ceremony is over, it's time for photos to be taken of the bride and groom and the wedding party. But you got the whole ship at your disposal for that. You'll have all that pre-arranged with the photographer. That'll all be figured out in advance. Now the photos get taken. And then it's time for lunch. Where do you take the wedding party for lunch? You tell them to meet us either at one of the dining rooms where we've got 10, 15 tables reserved in a corner of the dining area for ourselves, and we'll have our dinner there, and we'll have speeches and the wedding cake and all that sort of stuff down there. And then there might be a little bit of dancing and whatnot for another hour or two, either there or in another one of the venues, again, booked separately. And at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's all over. And the wedding party, all the guests who aren't going on the cruise, they got to go. They have to get off the ship. They've had a wonderful time. They've had a great day, 5-6 hours on this beautiful vessel. They've had time to walk around while you're getting your photos taken. They've eaten, they've had some drinks, they've had a great time, and the cost per person can be negotiated between you and the cruise ship for the meals and for an open bar, or it can be pay as you go. I mean, it's a million ways to do this. And now the bride and groom are headed to their honeymoon suite, and they're getting ready for their 10-day cruise or 7-day cruise, whatever the deal is. You're on your way. This is just a beautiful way to go. Let me just say, I'm just going to interrupt the wedding story for just 1 second. Dylan's asking, I decided on getting the coffee card for my cruise. Thank you, Bruce, for your tips yesterday. What do you think of Princess Medallion Cruises? Good idea on the coffee tip. Absolutely. Princess, I'm assuming you're asking me about Princess Cruises as a whole. Princess is great. It's like a 4.5-star line owned by Carnival. There are people out there who will only cruise on Princess lines. They won't cruise on anybody else. And the longer they cruise on Princess, the higher up they go in a loyalty program, and then they get freebies. It might be a bottle of champagne waiting for you when you get on board the next time. Might be a free upgrade to a higher grade cabin, discounts on various ship services. Really, really good. There are folks who will only travel Princess. Same with Holland America, of course, and other lines. So way to go on the coffee deal. Back to the wedding thing for a minute. If you're having the wedding in New York, for example, or Los Angeles, or Miami, or Fort Lauderdale, wherever the ship happens to be between cruises, you can conduct the ceremony on the ship knowing that 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, 150 people, how many number of guests you have coming will come to the ship, and they'll be there for the ceremony, they'll be there for a dinner and a bit of a reception, and then off they go. I mean, you'll have very few people turn you down if they get an invite in the mail saying, yeah, we're getting married on the Norwegian Bliss cruise ship in New York Harbor on such and such a day between, be there at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., whatever the time is, until so-and-so. Don't bring wedding gifts with you because we're just on the cruise. So don't bring pots and pans for bring us an envelope maybe of something for the cruise, maybe a gift certificate or just some money. Or if there's going to be a actual gift, do it on a registry situation, and then when you get back to shore, you can get your items at that time. There's millions of ways to do that. But I can tell you that your wedding party, you'll have people begging to go to this wedding because the pictures on board will be spectacular. Everyone will bring their smartphone and their own cameras, and they'll be taking photos like crazy. Why do you ask, would Norwegian or Royal Caribbean or Holland America or any other cruise line, why would they want to have these kinds of weddings in their ship under these kinds of circumstances? Simple. The wedding party, the husband, the groom, the bride and groom, and maybe maybe best man and his wife or girlfriend or maid of honor, or maybe not. It might only be the two of them. Might be the only people taking a cruise. Everyone else in the wedding party and all the guests in the wedding party, no one is taking the cruise. But they're all on that ship for about 5 hours, and they're going to be blown away by this ship. Blown away when they walk around and see this spectacular setting where this wedding took place. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to get on their smartphones right on the ship, right on the spot. They're going to start looking up how much a cruise costs for a week or 2 or 10 days. Maybe, the next month, 6 months later, the next year, they're going to find out, wow, I can be on a vessel like this for so much money a week or so much a night. My God, I can get an inside room, or I can get an ocean view room, or I can get a balcony suite. This is spectacular. People who've never been on a cruise ship before, who get the chance to get on a cruise ship, are blown away. They can't believe how big they are, how roomy they are, how beautiful the restaurants are, how great the buffet areas are. I mean, they're great. They're like going to a Bellagio buffet in Las Vegas. They're fantastic. They see the casinos because they're not open, but they see them. They'll walk around the pool deck and see the jacuzzis. They'll see the happy, excited faces of the cruisers just getting on the ship that are taking that cruise coming up. They just got there. They're all pumped up. The atmosphere on a cruise ship on day one is undescribable if you've never done a cruise before. And the cruise line has just had 50 or 100 or 150 people on their vessel that may never have taken a cruise ever before, or have never taken a cruise on this cruise line, or certainly this cruise ship. And the Norwegian people and the Royal Caribbean people, they know they're going to get a percentage of these folks. They're going to become cruisers with them. That's why they love to do it. The package prices are quite reasonable. You can get a package price for a wedding for anywhere from about $2,000 and up. If you want something a little more elaborate, you can go up to $6,000. Now, this doesn't include the cost of the cruise, of course. This is simply for the ceremony and all the features. I'll get into one of the packages in a minute. There's another thing to consider about a wedding. You can conduct a wedding at sea. Happen to be the person to marry you, you can arrange that as well. You can bring along your own person to conduct the ceremony. You want to have a non-denominational wedding, you can do that. And you can have it arranged where you're on a 1-week cruise, let's say out of New York or Miami or whatever it is, and the ship is going to stop in the Cayman Islands. And you want to get married in the Cayman Islands right on the beach with the cruise ship in the background behind you, because you're on the beach. The wedding party is sitting in front of you, and you're getting married with your significant other. The officiant is with you, and behind you is the ocean, and back here is the cruise ship. And all your folks are sitting there clicking, and videotaping like there's no tomorrow. These weddings make great eye candy for decades. It's a great way to go. The ship will coordinate an onshore wedding for you as well. They'll figure out the logistics for transportation. They'll figure out the logistics to get everybody there. It's fantastic. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because you may have 10 or 15 people on board the ship who are part of the bridal party, or none. You might only have the bride and groom in the wedding party. The ship gets to the Cayman Islands, but when the ship gets to the Cayman Islands, the day before and the day before that, folks have been landing on airplanes coming into the Cayman Islands to meet you at the beach. They're going to stay in the Cayman Islands for a week or so and enjoy the island. You folks are just there to get married and get right back on that ship after the reception, and you're out of here. So there's that too. And I have a feeling, I believe you can also arrange an onboard reception after the wedding, but that takes a bit of coordination. This is where the wedding planners come in with the cruise lines. The logistics are unbelievable, and the potential is limitless, absolutely limitless. Depending on your budget and your time constraints, there's so much you can do with a wedding at sea. Last thing I'll mention is, of course, you can have a wedding at sea with only guests that are cruising with you. And that's perfect for an intimate wedding situation where you have maybe no more than 10 guests. You might have a bridesmaid and a best man and mom and dad, and if you got 10, 12, 16 people, you can hold the ceremony right in the chapel. Then you can arrange to have food brought to a specific venue on the ship for just the party, the wedding party only. Photography done, of course, on board. It's just limitless what you can do there. It's just fantastic. So pricing, as I say, is anywhere from about $2,000 to $6,000 for this type of event. Now, here's an example for those of you watching now, but also watching me later. Here's an example of one of the packages you can get. This is an onboard wedding package. It's offered by MSC Cruises, and for about $1,600, they're offering the following package. It includes the bouquet for the bride and a matching boutonniere for the groom, pre-wedding consultant with the cruise line, priority check-in for bride and groom and guests. Again, this is onshore, so your guests are coming to the ship before it sails. A pier-to-cabin escort service, so there's ship representatives waiting for your guests to arrive, who will escort them onto the ship and bring them right to where they have to go. No one will get lost or will be wandering off anywhere. If there are 20 people expected or 50 people expected, they will make sure that they're brought in either 10 at a time or 20 at a time. It'll all be coordinated. As a bride and groom, you don't have to worry about it. That's being taken care of for you. A non-denominational officiant will be provided for you. It could be the ship's captain. It could be someone else. There'll be recorded music provided for the wedding. There'll be a wedding cake for two provided, unless you have your own wedding cake made as a separate order. A bottle of sparkling wine will be delivered for the bride and groom. 1 hour of photo coverage is provided automatically. And that, again, is on-ship photography, which is the way you want to go. You only want to use on-ship photography. They know their ship. What else am I talking about? Oh, and then they have, for non-sailing guests, they'll help get them off the ship. Of course, they'll escort them off the ship when the time comes, obviously. And then there's packages available above and beyond all of that. If you want to provide meals for everyone in the party after the ceremony and the photographs have been held, you can just have the meals in the buffet area if you want, and there'll be just a flat charge charged to each party of a member of the wedding party to enjoy food in the buffet. If you want to go with just that, if you want to go then with a special dining package in one of the separate restaurants, maybe the Italian restaurant or the steakhouse or the Asian one, whatever one you want. The ship will coordinate with you to reserve the room or a portion of that room with serving staff, and the menu will be predetermined, and it'll all be set up for you. So there's a billion ways to go with this, and there's just a flat charge per person, or it's a flat charge for the entire party. And this way, you don't have to worry about renting a hall. You don't have to worry about finding a caterer. You don't have to worry about getting a DJ. Where am I going to get the photographer from? Who's going to supply the flowers? There are flowers everywhere on the ship anyway. And there will be special areas of the ship that can be decorated with flowers on demand for photographs for the wedding party. You can set this, customize this any way you want. But for this package here, this is a starter type package. This gives you an idea of the kind of dollars you need to pay just to have a wedding on a cruise ship. They're a fraction of some of the numbers that are out there now. There are people out there. We've all heard the nightmares of weddings costing $20,000, $40,000, $60,000, $80,000, and beyond. And you have the couple who want to get married and they want it to be a quiet ceremony. They only want it to have 20, 25, 30 people come to the wedding. And you get 200 people that want to come to the wedding. What are you going to do? Who are you going to say no to on that? So there's this kind of thing. Another thing about the wedding in New York, just to give you an idea, if you live in St. Louis, Chicago, Atlanta, okay, and you want to have the wedding on a cruise ship in New York Harbor, at the pier, worry not. Not a problem whatsoever. Southwest Airlines and JetBlue, you can fly into New York City on a day trip. I mean, literally land in the morning and leave in the evening. But if I knew that my wife and I were being invited to a cruise ship wedding in New York Harbor at the pier, we'd fly in a couple of days before the wedding, and we'd spend some time in New York City or in New Jersey just across the way. And we'd probably spend a couple of days after the wedding. So we'd make it a 4 or 5 day event. And if you can do the wedding on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever this day is, man, have you got this thing going? Just take a look here. Matt has arrived. Or Matt's here. The last thing, I want to have a wedding plan for the Cayman Islands, and because of the weather or something, the ship diverts. Well, Matt, it can happen. This is the thing with a cruise ship wedding. If the shore, it's impossible to get to the shore, then you can change plans and can conduct the wedding on the ship itself. But for any shore people who've flown in for the wedding, they're out of luck. They're not going to a wedding, but they get to spend a few days in the Caymans, and if the weather clears up, they're okay. Matt says, I've been on Oasis of the Seas 4 times, and each one there's been at least one wedding. They always take photos on the Central Park. Truly beautiful. Yes, absolutely, Matt. For those of you folks who have no idea on how to conduct a wedding at sea, let's go to YouTube and enter in the search bar, wedding at sea, and you'll see all kinds of people who've posted videos of their weddings that they've had on board a cruise ship. You're absolutely right, Matt. That's $1 billion+ vessel that Royal Caribbean built, and these brides and grooms, I'm sure, they are cherishing the memories of that ceremony on board that vessel. They're cherishing the photos that they had taken of professionally and even by friends who were just taking snapshots of them, or any videos. And I bet you they're cherishing the memories of the honeymoon cruise that they had afterwards. I can't imagine a more romantic and wonderful way to have a wedding at sea, to have a wedding on a cruise ship like that. It's fantastic. Like I said, if you win the lottery and you want to treat your entire wedding party to a 7-day cruise, and have the wedding the 3rd day in at sea, with 200 guests, and you want to foot the bill for that whole deal, hey, just win the lottery. That's all you got to do. Just pick the right numbers, and then put out the invitations and have at it. Royal Caribbean will set you up, or any cruise line will set you up. Now, cruise lines like Disney, you're talking about a Disney themed wedding. That's another whole other level of a type of a wedding. I mean, now we're talking themed type weddings. Very popular in Disneyland, of course. Weddings are very popular in Disney World, and they're popular around the world and all the other Disney parks. On the Disney cruise ships, that's another world entirely. Again, as a guest, if I got an invite to a wedding that said, Bruce, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, so-and-so are getting married, and they're having the wedding at Port Canaveral in Florida, and it's going to be from 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon on the Disney Wonder, or whatever the name of the ship is with Disney. I'd move heaven and earth to get an airplane ticket down to Orlando. Absolutely. And of course, what I would be doing is I would be booking a hotel stay somewhere in the Orlando area to get there a few days before and stay a few days after. And I got Universal Studios to go see. I got Disney World to go see. I got everything else in Orlando to go see. Unless, of course, I'm thinking, well, geez, the wedding is on the Disney Wonder. How much is it to sail on the Disney Wonder? Is there any good cruise deals? Any deals there? If not, well, off of Port Canaveral alone, there are 4 or 5 cruise ships a week that are coming and going for Caribbean cruises. I'm going to check the prices of the cruises around that wedding date, just after that wedding, the day of, or the day after, the 3 days after. If there's a cruise 2 or 3 days after that wedding, I might hang out in Orlando for a few days and then get on a cruise for a week myself with my wife and enjoy that. And then at the end of that cruise, come back to Orlando, spend a night or so, and then fly home. This is an excuse for a lot of people to incorporate a cruise for themselves. Same thing with the New York idea I was telling you about earlier. You get all kinds of people to come to New York to the wedding. You may find that a whole bunch of those folks, they're booking a cabin on that cruise, and they know they're not going to see you because you're going to be in the the honeymoon suite for a lot of your time. And likely the honeymoon suite you're booking probably has its own jacuzzi, so you don't even need to hang out with the riffraff. That's fine. But I got my own cabin on that cruise, and I'm having a wonderful time. So, boy, I'll tell you, wedding cruises could be something really, really special. It's really something to would be really something to look into. Anyway, so there's a brief recap of wedding cruises. I mean, I'm scratching the surface on this whole topic. It's just endless. But like I said earlier, the number of new cruise ships coming now on into service, I think it's 18 in the next 16, 18 months. So it's almost a cruise ship, a boat a month, a ship a month coming out from these various cruise lines. And some of these are new participants. And like I said, MSC would be a cruise line I would pay very close attention to. I would, before I book a cruise with anyone else, I would check the pricing on an MSC cruise, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in the Caribbean, and check out the repositioning cruises that go from, say, the Caribbean to the Mediterranean, in the late spring. You can find a good deal on an MSC cruise. It might be worth your while to take advantage of it. Vacationstogo.com is the website I like to follow to find cruise deals, and they have all the MSC cruises listed there by ship or by the line or by territory, easily done. You can check out my videos that I have already made on how to find a cheap cruise or how to find a repositioning cruise, how to get a deal on a repositioning cruise. I go through how you do that. It's easy as can be. So that's a line I would look into, with $14 billion being spent over the next 5 or 6, 7 years. The ships that are coming from these guys are unbelievable. Now, I've mentioned earlier about AIDA cruises. AIDA is the spelling of AIDA cruises. I won't make that mistake again. I used to spell it AIDA or DAIDI or something like that. AIDA cruises. It's a German cruise line owned by a Carnival, and it's run by Costa Cruises, which is owned by Carnival. So it's their European division, and their European division handles the bookings. Now, Costa Cruises is famous for offering cruises for German speaking passengers, although announcements on board are also in English, if I recall. They've announced new cruise ships coming as well. I think they have 3 ships on order, of which 2 in the next 2 or 3 years. I'm hearing 6,000 passengers per ship capacity, bigger than Symphony of the Seas, bigger than Oasis of the Seas, bigger than Allure of the Seas, and Harmony of the Seas that Carnival has out now. These are larger. So it'll be quite interesting to see how those ships, stack up and how they the amenities kind of come out. It'll be interesting to see. I'd also be interested in hearing any comments from you folks. If you're watching this tonight or tomorrow, next week, comment down below once this video is posted. Tell me if you find that in the last 5 to 10 years, standards on cruise ships have gone down. I want to just dedicate an entire discussion on that on my next live cast, which will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock New York time, Eastern Standard Time. I'll do my next live stream tomorrow. I want to talk about how standards of cruise ships have changed in the last 5 or 10 years. There have definitely been improvements on cruise ships with regard to the amenities available and the kinds of things that you can do on a cruise ship. Like the size of the water slides are so different now than 10 years ago. The other features that they're bringing out now, rope obstacle courses, climbing walls, of course, flow rider machines, bumper cars, bowling, ice skating rinks. I mean, all this has happened. But there have been changes the other direction where things seem to be getting lower in quality or higher in price. And I'd like to talk about that topic tomorrow, unless something big happens in the cruise business I don't know about. We'll get to that. So if anyone has any comments on that, by all means, leave them below. AIDA cruises aren't very good from people's experiences. You can get everything and more for cheaper. This is Matt. I think the only reason people travel is for the German speaking. Matt, you could be right. But I have a feeling that with MSC and other cruise lines coming into Europe in a bigger way, in a stronger way, especially Royal Caribbean in the last 5 years, they've really dedicated ships in the area. Even Carnival started bringing Carnival ships to Europe. AIDA has had to up their game, and they are. These new ships coming on stream, I think, are going to be a step apart from what they've done in the past. German passengers, by the way, they're not cheapskates. They can afford anything. And so I can't see where ADA will score German tourists where they won't go on a Royal Caribbean ship. They'll speak German in the Europe if there are Germans on board a Royal Caribbean ship. They'll have staff to take care of them. So the language barrier shouldn't really be a big deal. But the days of cheap ADA cruising, the lower quality, might be coming to an end as these older ships get retired or shifted to other regional cruise lines in the Baltic Sea or to other European cruise lines. I think ADA is upping their game, and I think it's an overall strategy for Carnival because Costa and Carnival lines are kind of about the same. Maybe Costa is more like a little bit of a princess quality, a little higher than Carnival in a rating. If Carnival is a 4-star, Costa is a 4.5-star, and I think ADA, they're going to want to build it up to a 4.5-star as well. And if so, they're going to have to make changes to their itineraries and/or to the ships and the features on the ships. So it's going to be interesting to see how this sort of plays itself out as time goes by. Anyway, we'll see where that lands us. Now, I think, yeah, Dylan says, I'd love to try a European cruise. I can practice my French and German. I'll tell you, Dylan, I was on a Mediterranean cruise. It was 11 days, leaving from England, ending in Barcelona. And we heard it all. I mean, Spanish and Portuguese and French and Italian. And then I heard Russian and Turkish and Greek and, Egyptian. I mean, Europeans, you look at the continental United States, put the map of the continental United States over top of Europe, and you can see that traveling Ryanair from Athens to London to catch a cruise ship, you can fly to London for like $150. It's dirt cheap on these discount airlines. And then from Barcelona back to Athens, $99 one way. So to get a cruise out of Southampton, you can be in Egypt and make it to fly Egypt Air. They have, I don't know how many flights a day. And same with Norwegian Airlines, which is a discount airline as well. $50, $100 a flight per segment. You can get anywhere. It's unbelievable how cheap Europe has become airfare wise. We're in the past, like 10 years ago, to fly in Europe, if you were going to fly from just London to say Berlin or to Warsaw or to Frankfurt or Vienna, you're talking $300 each direction, $600, because they had such limits, such restrictions on the airlines. Now it's an open skies policy. So if British Airways is allowed to fly into Czechoslovakia, then an airline from Czechoslovakia is allowed to fly into Britain. It's the same deal, the UK. So now Germany and France and Spain and Italy and Turkey and everybody, it's wide open. And so every country allows every other country's planes in, and that allows full flowing traffic to go everywhere. The Europeans have become huge winners in this area, along with any visitors to Europe, like those of us from North America. And this is the thing we have to remember, is we need to sometimes remember all we need to do is get an airplane ride from North America to Heathrow, Gatwick, Frankfurt, or Paris. And from there, you can fly anywhere else in Europe on the cheap. And so if you find a way to find a cheap flight, say with Norwegian Airlines, you can fly Norwegian from LA to say, Oslo for maybe $200 round trip, $300 round trip, $250, depending how far ahead you book. Man, from there you can go anywhere in Europe for $100, $150 by air. Fantastic deals. So yeah, getting a cruise in Europe now can be not a problem anymore. In the past, cruise lines had the problem where the ship was leaving Barcelona, and the cruise line was going, Jesus, we're not going to be able to sell out the ship because only the Spanish residents, from Spain, are going to get on this ship, where people from France, either they take the high speed rail, if they can get it, into Barcelona, or they have to drive themselves, or they have to fly in. And if they flew in, it was so expensive to fly upwards of 10 years ago that cruises out of Barcelona you wouldn't be able to offer them. It wouldn't sell out. Now, Barcelona is a hub for cruise ships. And the same with just north of Rome, and of course Southampton, obviously. And now there's Amsterdam, there's Hamburg, Oslo, Copenhagen, all kinds of cruises available from all kinds of various European centers, because to get to the ship and get back home from that ship is so cheap and so affordable. Cruise lines are now going, well, we're no longer restricted to just Southampton, where the fees might be ridiculous. Why don't we work out of Stockholm, or why don't we work out of Hamburg, or what city will give us the best deal? and that's a big attraction for cruise ships. Dia, how do you feel about? Oh, nasty little comment. We've got a troll. Just want to say, folks, the thing about getting a cruise is no longer restricted to whether you can get to the ship or not on a decent price, or get back. Now it's wide open. It's just changed so much in the last little while. It's fantastic for us. I'll mention also that in the States, there's a big competition going on in the U.S. for cruise ships. Everybody wants to have a cruise ship, make it a home port. And so I'm just reading the other day about another cruise line like Carnival, where they were talking about changing the destination of cruise ships from, say, New Orleans to Charleston, make that the home port, or from Galveston to Houston. There's a lot of competition going on between cities in the United States to get their hands on the right to be allowed to have cruise ships call their city the home port. This is a big deal. A lot of jobs are created when a cruise ship calls a new city a home port. So if you can get a cruise ship to come to Charleston and conduct a cruise at least once a week, you're talking about 2,500 people getting off the cruise using cabs, buses, tour operators booking hotels, restaurants, flights in and out, and 2,500 passengers coming in. And they're coming in the day before, spending a couple nights, maybe 2 days before, spending a couple nights in the area, spending money, getting on the cruise, and then they're coming back. And this is 5,000 people a week per ship that is creating business for all these different ports. So I know that Bayonne, New Jersey loves having cruise ships there. Philadelphia would love to get a cruise ship in. Baltimore occasionally has ships in. Miami is fiercely hanging on to its port traffic. Port Canaveral, second to none when it comes to how many ships use it. Tampa, very aggressive. Key West, some cruises start even in Key West. So there's a lot of cities and now countries vying for cruise ship business. And cruise ship operators, they want to offer you the best deal possible for a cruise. And that means keeping their costs down. So if they can save $20,000 on port charges and not use Tampa and use San Juan, Puerto Rico, or use another country's port, they'll consider it strongly. It might be a way to go. And it might drop the cost of a cabin by $50, and you multiply that by 1,300 cabins, and that's a lot of money. So that's another part of the business that requires strong consideration. Folks, I think I'm going to pack it in. This has been a great chat today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions about wedding cruises, any questions about getting a deal on a cruise, drink packages, dining packages, how to find a good cruise deal, you let me know and just drop a comment below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you really like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing to my channel. And you can hit the bell notification icon right beside where it says Traveling with Bruce, where it says subscribe. There's a bell logo. Hit that, and you'll get automatic updates from whenever I post a new video. And I'll do it again tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. I'll do another live broadcast, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, this is Bruce saying goodbye from sunny BC in Canada with Traveling with Bruce. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.